Ah, politicians. It's always the same with these people, huh? When you form this unauthentic political persona, it's only a matter of time until you end up looking like a complete fool, like a deer caught in the headlights, unable to answer a simple question. When your entire existence is a lie, eventually it's just gonna happen. That's why we cover these moments all the time with these politicians, where they, quote, go silent or speechless, or end up looking like stuttering buffoons, unable to come up with something quick enough on the spot to justify their actions. And guess who it was again this week? None other than Nikki Haley, once again, looking absolutely shocked as she's confronted by a voter at one of her events. It's a pretty funny clip, so we definitely have to talk about it. Then we'll get into the rest of the news surrounding the primary as Ron DeSantis has officially dropped out of the race, endorsing Donald Trump. More bad news for Nikki Haley. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks. So I guess the word of the day is humility. Take a look at Nikki Haley getting confronted by voters at one of her campaign stops.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you, Dean. Oh, I love that. We don't get out and vote on Tuesday. It's important.
Yeah. So can I ask you just like a tiny question?
Yeah.
Do you think it's responsible for politicians to spend like $100 million in Iowa on TV ads, which go to mainly news stations that have lied to us for years, when there's homeless veterans out there that could use that money? When you didn't even come close to beating Trump, and you spent like $100 million in TV ad money?
Do you know my husband's a veteran?
That's fine, but I'm
He's
just
a combat
saying.
veteran?
I'm
and
asking
do you know that
you,
when the media doesn't tell the truth, the whole reason you put commercials on is to tell the truth because
but
the media doesn't?
My point is, you're not going to beat Trump, and
You know
all
what?
the money you're wasting could go to better causes.
I appreciate
that would make
that.
the Republican Party actually look better.
You know what? Last I saw, it was a democracy. So we're going to keep working for a good democracy. We're going to work for freedom, but thank you for your service.
You know, as per usual, Nikki Haley is struggling to come up with something on the spot. And at first, when I was watching the video, I said, well, you know, she's running in a presidential election. What do you expect? Of course, she's going to be spending campaign funds on ads. You could say that about a bunch of things. Well, why aren't you spending this money helping, starving kids in Africa? Yada, yada, yada. But the reality is, not everyone can be Mr. Beast. But if you think about the core point of this question, I actually think it's quite clever. Because the reality is, Nikki Haley doesn't stand a chance. Yet she is spending more than any other candidate in her futile attempt to win the Republican nomination. It's clear that she's unwanted. It's clear to absolutely everyone, including vehement anti-Trump candidates like Chris Christie.
I mean, who's punching above their weight and who's getting a return on their investment, And she's going to get smoked. And you and I both know it. She's not up to this.
Everyone knows, the writing's on the wall, the writing's been on the wall, yet she continues to spend and spend and spend. For what exactly? Because she thinks she can pull an upset victory in the state of New Hampshire. The theory that she promotes is, well, if I can just win in New Hampshire, I can win everywhere. Nikki, you can win by 70 percentage points in New Hampshire. You're going to lose in every other state. In fact, Nikki Haley didn't even come in second place in Iowa. She's losing in her home state of South Carolina, yet she continues to truck along. It's so infuriating for everybody watching. The extreme levels of copium, I think, are frustrating for most people. And that right there is where this criticism to Nikki starts to make a whole lot of sense. She's spending an absolute fortune for nothing. And where's that money going to? Well, straight to the fake news media and big tech social media oligarchs. What's Nikki Haley doing other than bolstering the bottom line of CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News? The answer is nothing. Wasting money, pissing it down the drain, to be quite frank with you, all as she continues to sabotage Republican efforts to unify behind one clear candidate. Because it's obvious, and as Ron DeSantis put it, Nikki Haley is running for her donors' issues and not the voter issues. The will of Republican voters was clear, it's been clear after Iowa, and so clearly Nikki Haley is representing her own interest and her donors' interest instead of the voters she purports to represent. All I'd like to see is maybe a little bit of humility. Is that too much to ask from Nikki Haley? Apparently it is. I just mentioned Ron DeSantis, so probably the perfect time to segue. You know what I'd like to see from Nikki Haley? I'd like to see something like this.
Nobody worked harder, and we left it all out on the field. Now, following our second place finish in Iowa, we've prayed and deliberated on the way forward. If there was anything I could do to produce a favorable outcome, more campaign stops, more interviews, I would do it. But I can't ask our supporters to volunteer their time and donate their resources if we don't have a clear path to victory. Accordingly, I am today suspending my campaign. It's clear to me that a majority of Republican primary voters want to give Donald Trump another chance. They watch his presidency get stymied by relentless resistance, and they see Democrats using lawfare this day to attack him. Well, I've had disagreements with Donald Trump. Trump is superior to the current incumbent, Joe Biden. That is clear. I signed a pledge to support the Republican nominee, and I will honor that pledge. He has my endorsement because we can't go back to the old Republican guard of yesteryear, a repackaged form of warmed-over corporatism that Nikki Haley represents.
Ron DeSantis officially suspends his campaign, drops out of the race after Iowa, and endorses Donald Trump. And honestly, the words he used, this message was perfect. He stated that it's clear that the voters want Donald Trump, and so he's decided to pull out of the race, realizing that no matter what he does, he's just not going to get the outcome that he or his campaign desire. Well, Nikki Haley's obviously in the exact same predicament everywhere except for New Hampshire, but she continues to truck along, spending millions of dollars for absolutely no purpose at all, and that is where people are frustrated. If Nikki Haley's goal was to stop Joe Biden, if it was truly to stop the Democrats, and she was really this unifying character that performed so well on paper in a general election against Joe Biden, well then maybe that endorsement would go quite far. Maybe use that endorsement to do the right thing, to represent what voters actually want, instead of further perpetuating this delusional nonsense. Drop out of the race. It's not going to happen, and I doubt it's even going to happen in New Hampshire. You know, Nikki Haley was expecting this big bump after Chris Christie dropped out of the race. I mean, she did get a slight bump, but it wasn't anything to write home about. Now I think Nikki Haley was hoping that Ron DeSantis would drop out of the race and she'd get a bump there, but Ron pulled out not to endorse Nikki Haley or bolster her numbers, but to endorse Donald Trump. It's over. It's freaking game over. This whole thing has become a charade. It's become a joke, a laughingstock, especially considering the current state of Nikki Haley's messaging campaign. I mean, she's pushed some Democrat talking points, but this one, I mean, holy moly, this ain't it.
You all saw what happened at the rally last night. That wasn't the first time. Go back and look. Here you've got a situation. I'm not saying he is in any way like Joe Biden, but Joe Biden is not what he was 2 years ago. We need a president for 8 years, even if you have a president for 4 years. The man was going on a rant about how I was keeping Capitol Police from going in on January 6th. He went on and on, mentioned my name multiple times about the fact that I stopped people from being secure on January 6th. I wasn't in DC on January 6th. I had nothing to do with the Capitol. It's things like that. He said multiple times that he ran against President Obama. He didn't run against President Obama. These things happen because guess what? When you're 80, that's what happens. You're just not as sharp as you used to be.
Nikki Haley's now promoting the 2019 CNN/MSNBC aged like old milk talking point that Donald Trump is old and can't keep up. The guy is literally running circles around her. Nikki Haley got her on the spot improv training from frickin' Kamala Harris. She's an absolute train wreck in any form of debate or public speaking when she has to interact with actual human beings. But Donald Trump's the one that's not sharp enough. Just please go away and stop wasting money targeting confused boomers who still watch cable news. That's the viral video, and that's what's on my mind. That's what I got for you guys. Nikki Haley coming off as disingenuous as ever. Ron DeSantis dropping out of the race and endorsing Donald Trump. I know, crazy, shocking turn of events. It's time to get with the program and stop this absolute nonsense. That's what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.